Rook's plans to escape Exodus take a really nasty turn when Direwolf shows up with exceptionally bad news, and Ursaw arrives to inflict some massive bear hug pain. We're going to talk about it in Rook Exodus number 2. See you in 3. And welcome back to Comical Opinions. This is our review of Rook Exodus number 2 from Image Comics and Ghost Machine. Let's take less than 60 seconds to recap what happened in the first issue. We got a very loose introduction to the desperate situation on the remote planet colony of Exodus. The world engine, whatever that thing does, is now broken and destroyed. Everybody who's rich or connected has fled the planet, and that only leaves a few people left, particularly the wardens, which are the individuals that have the special helmets and are connected to the nature network that allows them to control specific species of animals. Rook is the central character, and he controls birds, and he's gathering up parts along with his buddy Swine, who controls hogs, and they're trying to get the pieces they need to build their own rocket and escape. Unfortunately, at the end of the issue, Swine met an untimely death at the hands of Ursaw, who controls bears. That brings us to Rook Exodus number 2. We start with a brief prologue introducing a warden named Direwolf who controls wolves. She finds Swine's remains in what's left of his camp after Ursaw's attack, and we later learn that Direwolf is one of the warden trainers responsible for training the new arriving farmers in how to be a warden. And she's also a very staunch proponent of making sure that anybody who's left fights for their home world and claim Exodus for their own, rather than trying to leave and escape to parts unknown. Elsewhere, we find Rook, who doesn't know what happened to Swine, and he's sitting in a small boat on a lake. And he's next to the wreckage of another rocket ship that had crashed recently, and he believes that they might have the parts he needs to finish his own rocket and escape. While he's waiting for Swine to communicate back with him to let him know what's going on, his little boat, which is basically a dinghy or a small rowboat, is attacked by a gigantic turtle the size of a kaiju. It crunches on the boat, and he leaps off into the water to try and escape being turtle food, swims down, finds the part he needs, latches onto it with a cable, swims back up to the surface, and frantically makes his way to the shore. Unfortunately, the turtle starts to follow him. So when Rook gets back to the shore, he activates a remote sensor that tells his land rover to drive towards him and leap off a small ledge to crash right into the turtle's head and kill it. Later, we catch up with Rook, who's back in the city. He's used the part to complete his rocket ship, and now he's just sort of drinking his cares away as he's waiting to find out what happened to Swine so the two of them can get in the rocket and take off together. Direwolf shows up and she says, "I'm sorry, I've got bad news. Swine is dead. Your goal should be to stay with me and stay with other wardens so we can get together and reclaim Exodus as our own. Better World's going to come back. They're going to fix the world engine and everything's going to be set right. But you've got to come with me and gather our forces so that way we can help defeat Ursaw, who is a nutcase and he's going to kill everybody." But Rook has made up his mind. Better World is not coming back. He'd rather just leave than fight because it's a waste of time. When the argument starts to get a little heated, it's interrupted by a large explosion in the streets outside. And Ursaw is now charging down the middle of the street with these big, hulking, wheeled, armored transport vehicles, and also followed by gigantic sized bears that are shooting guns, shooting lasers, shooting missiles, and destroying everything in sight. Rook says, "Get in the rocket ship with me, Direwolf. Let's get out of here and we can be gone right now." Direwolf says, "No, we're wardens. This is our home. You've got to stay and fight." And what happens? Ursaw settles the argument by launching an RPG and blowing up Rook's rocket ship, which completely obliterates his chances for escape. So the two kind of figure out how to get a way to escape, or at least create some distance in the melee. And Rook has now changed his tune completely. He says, "Well, I'm not going to be able to escape Exodus because Ursaw just blew up my ship, and he was responsible for killing Swine. Now I'm going to get that sucker." And now we turn from a survival story into a full-on revenge quest. Let's talk about the technical aspects, starting with the character development. This is still Rook's story. He's still the main protagonist and front and center. But the big aspect of this issue from a character point of view is the introduction of Direwolf, who is cool and clever and shrewd and a capable fighter and she has her own set of goals and objectives that run counter to Rook's single-mindedness, and also puts her at odds with Ursaw. So even though this is Rook's story, this issue goes a long way towards building up Direwolf as an excellent partner and somebody who may help Rook kind of accept his new status quo. Let's switch over to the art. Jason Fabok and Brad Anderson on colors. It's, if you can hear me clapping, I'm clapping. This is chef's kiss level of art. It is fantastic, highly detailed, incredibly dramatic and cinematic in all the right ways. If you are paying $3.99 for this comic and you are getting this level of art, you are getting more than your money's worth. Every book, big two books, should look this good, and I can tell you from personal experience, they don't. This is amazing art, and this is exactly the kind of thing that you want out of a high quality art team with a high quality writer, and it looks amazing. Let's move over to pacing and structure. Geoff Johns is a master at setting up the pacing of this issue because it's all about the sort of desperate anxiousness of Rook as he's trying to get his parts, get on the ship, and get the hell out of there. And so you can feel his anxiousness kind of build and swell, and especially when Ursaw shows up and starts creating havoc, he just wants to scramble. He just wants to get out of there, and you can feel that energy, that anticipation, that nervousness, that anxiousness, and almost that level of desperation that's really pushing him forward. And that pacing just pulls you along through with escalating sense of urgency. The structure is good. It's still very basic and primal, and I think it's a little bit of a mixed bag because it is very good in the moment, but you're still missing so much of the context. What is the world engine? Why did it break? Why did Better World abandon Exodus? Why are there wardens? What are they supposed to do? Why do you have somebody who's called a warden who can control bears? What does that actually do for you? How does that make the world better? Why would Better World create that role and that capability? So much of that is unclear, so you're missing a lot of the background and the context. So you're enjoying the story in the moment, but you feel like you're just missing big chunks of the story in the background, and it just sort of robs the satisfaction level of the story. Let's switch over to the themes of the story, and this is one of those unusual scenarios where the theme started off one way and switched to something else at the end. So the beginning, from the first issue all the way to this point, is all about survival, trying to get your resources together, trying to get your allies together and survive, and eventually escape Exodus to further that survival. It's all the survival story. However, once Esau shows up, does his deed, and sets the story on a new course, now it's about revenge. And he meaning Rook, all but says it out loud. If I can't escape, I'm going to make sure Esau pays, or not Esau, sorry, Ursaw pays for what he did. So you start off as a survival tale, you switch over to a revenge tale, and it works very well the way it transitions. Looking at the bigger picture, this is a Ghost Machine title, and for the other titles that are going on with Ghost Machine, there is some interconnectedness there. Geiger, Redcoat, Junkyard Joe are all reference each other, at least indirectly, with the intention of eventually those titles will come together. How does this title fit into those? The answer is, so far, they don't. This appears to be happening in some future timeline. There is a possibility that those timelines can converge, or that some time travel may happen. Who knows? That is TBD. But right now, this is a very standalone title compared to the rest. So even though Junkyard Joe, Geiger, and Redcoat are coalescing together, this is still pretty much a standalone story. Final thoughts. What do we think about Rook Exodus #2 from Image Comics and Ghost Machine? You get plenty of emotion, plenty of drama, plenty of action, plenty of cool sci-fi happenings going on, and the art is amazing. And the very fact that the story switched from a survival tale to a revenge quest with buttery smooth transitions is quite impressive. Geoff Johns is really nailing it with the structure of the script in the moment, although it does lack a lot of the background details for the story and the scenario and the world building to make sense. But you're enjoying it in the moment, so you can kind of maybe look past those details if you're not picky. But we're picky. That's the way it works. And Jason Fabok's art is just next level gorgeous. Therefore, we're going to give Rook Exodus #2 from Image Comics and Ghost Machine an 8.8 out of 10. What do you think about this series? Are you enjoying it? Is this one of your favorites coming out of Ghost Machine, or do you like another one better? What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? Let us know in the comment section. Otherwise, please like, share, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned through the outro for the next review.